Hi everyone, it's Liz with Edmund Designs, and today I'm going to walk you through how I built my 5 by 6 foot dividing pin for my bunny Jack and our new bunny Milton so that they could bond. I have had Jack since she was very small. I got her March 31st of this year, and when I got Jack, I built a small hutch, I'll link it below, for her to stay in during the evenings when she couldn't be monitored. Otherwise, she had free range of our living room, and that only lasted for a couple of weeks, and then Jack had free range and has so this entire time. Jack's favorite places are under the couch, stretching out on the carpet, getting on the couch to cuddle with one of us, and so she's been very spoiled and had plenty of room to play. And I've gotten very used to Jack being around and cuddling with, but I felt that Jack could benefit from having another bunny, and so I started to look for a bunny friend for Jack, and I settled on a male Holland Lop. Milton's mother was a blue tort, and I was really just looking for a rabbit. It didn't really matter which, but I just kind of fell in love with Milton and got her a few days ago. So I decided what I needed to do was put them in a place where they could both be near one another without injuring one another. And a lot of people had recommended getting large pet pins and placing them side by side. But this was really unrealistic for me because Jack has been free range and had so much room that even a large dog kennel is quite small for a rabbit. So I decided I would build something myself to house both of them while they got adjusted that could later be converted into a larger space. You're going to want to get 15 1-inch by 2-inch by 8-foot boards. I recommend 15 instead of 14 in case you make any mistakes. 3-foot 1-inch hex poultry netting. 50 feet. You're actually going to use about 28 feet, but they come in increments of 25. So if you have extra laying around, this would be a good chance to use it up, and then you could buy the 25 foot instead. A 50 count pack of 2-inch screws. You can use number 6 or 8, and I'll explain that later in regards to what drill bit you'll be using. 2 packs of 3-inch utility hinges. Heavy duty staples, a 1/2 inch or deeper, 1/2 inch will work, and then 2 bolt locks or any sturdy latch to hold your door shut. Here is just an example of the tools that I used. The brand doesn't really matter, and you're only going to need a handsaw if you don't have a drill with a jigsaw attachment or a trim saw attachment. Of course, you could use a circular saw if you wanted to, whatever you have available. For your tools, you're going to want a drill, a saw, whichever type works for you. You can have the pieces cut usually at your hardware store. Mine personally charges $1 per cut, so it's much cheaper for me to do it myself. A screwdriver, either electrical or handheld, a tape measure, a staple gun, wire cutters. Your drill bit is going to depend on the size of screw, because you're going to want to drill pilot holes. So you're going to need a 3/32 bit for a number 6 or 1/8 of an inch for a number 8 screw, safety glasses, and gloves for when you're handling the chicken wire. Personally, what I've found very useful is I own a Black & Decker matrix, which I bought with my own money, and it has removable heads. Here you see it with the drill attachment, and then here you see it with the jigsaw attachment, which I used a wood saw jig for this. And here's a photo of the drill bits next to their size of screw, like I talked about before. And for those of you who don't do a lot of woodworking, your pilot holes are going to be very important when it comes to keeping your wood from splitting, especially because we're dealing with a wood that's only 1 inch by 2 inches. The first thing that you're going to want to do is cut all of your pieces to size. And the reason why I have 4 32.5 or 32 3/4 pieces are actually because of the gate doors, and those can vary depending on how you put this together. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if your side pieces aren't exactly flush, or your divider down the middle isn't exactly in the middle, it will change how your doors measure. Of course, here I've got them measured as 33 inches, which would be correct, but I found that on mine, personally, I had 32.5 on one side and 33 on the other. So again, those might be something that you want to do at the end. So once you have all of your pieces cut to size, yours won't look like this. I played around a lot. The important thing is that you're going to drill the pilot holes. So what I did is I cut a 1 by 2 inch piece of cardstock. I put a hole directly in the middle, and then I used that to mark all of my boards. You're going to want to do it to every top and every bottom piece, and then go ahead and drill your pilot hole. I don't do these on the pieces that are standing vertically, because you could end up getting off a little bit. So I find that it's best to go ahead and drill your pilot hole on your top and bottom pieces, line everything up, and then drill your other holes as you go. You're going to want to construct your 5-foot panels first, 3 of these, and I found that it was best to put my end pieces together first, and then my middle brace is what I did the last. I did not drill pilot holes for these until I had them in place, and I made sure to measure halfway on the top and the bottom. Then you're going to want to do the same thing for one panel for your 6-foot. And once you've constructed all of these, then you can put on your chicken wire, and I would recommend going ahead constructing these before you actually make your doors, in case you've made any mistakes or your measurements are slightly off, so that your doors fit properly. You want each of your 5-foot panels to be on the inside of the 6-foot panel, because if you put the outside 2 5-foot panels on the end of the 6-foot panel, then your doors wouldn't line up. Just like all of your panels, you're going to want to make sure that your top pieces set on top of your vertical pieces, and you're going to want to make sure you measure these after you've constructed everything. But if you do 32.5, more than likely you'll be okay, but it's always better to cut a little bit bigger so you can go back and trim it off if you need to. And then you'll want to cover these in chicken wire as well before you attach them to the front. Once I had my door measurements right and my doors constructed, I attached them with 2 3-inch hinges on either side to the direction that I wanted them to open, and then I used a bolt lock on the top of both gates so that my bunnies couldn't open them. I wouldn't recommend magnetic locks. I know my bunnies are quite strong, and I believe they could probably pop those open. You'll also see my back panel is just a white board. I had to use that in a pinch because I made the mistake of not measuring correctly, and I was off by just a couple of inches, so I will go back and fix that, and that'll be just like the rest. I used an old area rug that Jack had already kind of torn up, and I cut it to size so that they weren't on my wood floor, and both of them seem pretty content for the moment, and they're getting used to knowing one another. Later on I can go back in and I can remove this dividing section, or perhaps make a multi-layered cage. I'm not sure. I chose 3 feet personally, because you can see I had a cardboard castle and other things. Jack in particular can jump very, very high. She can jump up onto my computer desk and different things like that. So I wanted something high enough that I didn't have to worry about her getting over into Milton's pen and possibly attacking her before they've quite bonded. All in all, I was able to do this project for under $40. Of course, I already had the tools, staples, things like that. So don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Next up, I will be doing a tutorial on these cute little Christmas treats that I made for Jack and Milton, which they absolutely love. So if you want to see that, subscribe, and I will see you next time.